After entering a house full of monsters they didn't know about, the body of the large monster took over her, and she cursed her brother and became someone else who worked in the palace. After Ray's fight with Clodin, she slept with him for a night without speaking to him. The maid Mary told her, "Lady Ray, I cannot answer any questions you have about this palace. Only the master knows the answers to those questions." Ray took a deep breath and said, "I understand." Then the scene will change to a rainy day. Ray is lying on the couch and says to herself, "Clodin is enjoying the rain." She looks out the window and says to herself, "The more I try to learn more about Clodin and this palace, the more mysterious it becomes to me. But now, with him, even the raindrops that fall feel like blessings and unity. The sun's rays feel like they're burning. How strange. I never knew that falling in love would be like falling into a deep hole. That's why I never wanted to know about it before, and now I laugh and cry because of Clodin. I've been tamed already." Then she went to the library and started looking for a book, saying to herself, "Here I am again. Where is Clodin?" She noticed the book she wanted and was about to take it. But suddenly Clodin arrived, took it, and gave it to her. Ray was stunned. Clodin took it from her and said, "What brings you here?" Ray was silent and said to herself, "What do you think of us, Clodin? Am I a nuisance to you? Is there nothing you want to say to me? Am I part of your future, Clodin?" She looked at him tensely and said, "The weather is nice today," even though she doesn't like this rainy weather. Clodin replied, "But it's not the kind of weather you enjoy." Ray started crying and said, "Now I love rainy days too. You weren't by my side when I woke up. Why did you leave without waking me?" She broke down in tears and said, "Is this normal when people break up?" Clodin said angrily, "Who says that? Do you want to end our relationship? Then why did you smile and hug me yesterday?" He then exposed her chest and said, "I thought I would stop this nonsense because I felt sorry for you. But why do you have to come to me like this every time?" He yelled at her, "You know that taking something I gave you makes me crazy." Ray approached him and said, "I don't want to stop, Clodin. I love you." Clodin was shocked by her reaction. She continued and said, "Sometimes I don't understand why you do the things you do or why you can't answer any of my questions, even though it might be unusual. Maybe because I haven't depended on anyone like I have on you, Clodin. But I can't help myself. I can't help but love you, Clodin." She kissed him and then said, "So you have to promise me, whenever you feel ready, come and tell me everything. I'll wait." Then she left quickly and left him. She said to herself, "I did it. I've never been more honest about my feelings in my whole life. I did the right thing. I hope Clodin understands how I feel." Suddenly, the old lady who warned her before came. Ray looked at her, and here they started looking at each other. Ray said to herself, "Clodin's nanny, this is the first time she has appeared in front of me since she tried to scare me and drive me away." And here she remembered her words, "Don't give up your body, especially your heart." And here, when she was about to leave, the nanny Dela stopped her and said, "Lady Ray, you ignored my warning." Ray was shocked, then angrily clenched her fists and said, "Do you want me to leave Clodin?" Dela said, "Yes." Ray asked, "Why is that?" Dela smiled and said, "Do you really not know? Because you are the only one who owns—" Ray stopped her and said, "Just stop talking." Dela asked, "Are you afraid to hear the truth?" Ray said, "Yes, I'm scared, but I don't want to run away before I even face the truth. I'll wait until Clodin tells me everything." Then Ray left. Dela looked at the ground in silence, then looked at her and said to herself, "She still has a pure soul for some reason. It hasn't been tainted yet. It can't be possible in this mansion. This mansion is for all the cursed souls." Every now and then, guests will come to visit the mansion, but each of them has left the mansion with a curse placed on them by the master. That's why I warned her to run away before she becomes Clodin's next scapegoat. And she must leave this mansion before anything foolish happens. Here she went to Clodin and said, Master Clodin, she is the youngest of the children who came recently, isn't she? Have you already done something to her brother? I told you many times not to do anything like that. You know that everything of your dignity is at stake every time you cast a curse. Then she gave him a newspaper and said, "This is news I got from my last visit outside the mansion. It's all news about major events that have happened recently." Clodin took it, and while looking at it, she said, "What if I return?" Lady Ray Clodin looked at her, then smiled and called her by her name, Dela. He put down the newspaper and said, "Be careful with your words. Some might think I kidnapped her." Dela said, "You know exactly what I'm saying," Clodin said. "Stop evading and speak directly." Dela said, "I know you can't say that you didn't mean to fall in love with her. Let her go. You have to do it yourself." Clodin said, "I never meant for that to happen. I didn't make her fall in love with me. I want her." Dela looked at him in astonishment and said to herself, whenever he wanted something for himself, he would hide it in his secret place since he was a child. And we don't know what kind of destruction awaits him if he starts to crave someone. And here she said to him, "Master, I am not cursed, as you know. When you were cursed, I was fortunate enough to go out to the city to escape the wrath. That is why I am the only one who can travel outside the mansion. I may not be a monster, but I am not an ordinary human either. Because of your presence in the mansion, I do not die, but I am not a ghost. It's more like I'm moving inside this empty body, but I can disappear at any second if I decide to leave the mansion. Do you plan to turn Lady Ray into someone like me?" Clodin was silent and remembered Ray. Dela said to him, "I don't want you two to go down the path of destruction. I sincerely hope that karma doesn't come after you." Then she left him and left in silence. And here, when Philip came, Clodin said to him, "Do not allow Dela to enter this palace from now on." Philip was shocked and said, "Excuse me, but Dela won't last long outside the palace." Clodin looked at him angrily and said, "So, Philip, are you planning to leave her to die?" Clodin made an inappropriate comment about Ray and looked out the window. Then he said to him, "Make sure she never comes back." The scene then shifts to Ray, who was walking down the hallway, feeling sad and lost in thought. She recalled Dela's words, "I ignored your warning. Don't expect Mr. Clodin to change, do you? Some things will always remain the same, no matter how hard you try, and you'll regret this." Ray thought to herself, "There's a lot going on. It's not that I don't trust Clodin, but..." Suddenly, Hayes approached her and said, "Excuse me." Ray looked up at him and he asked, "Would you like something to drink?" Ray replied, "I'm fine. I was just about to head to the kitchen." Hayes continued, "Miss Lisbon, are you happy? I heard you have a brother, but you seem perfectly happy even without him." Ray answered tensely, "I don't know. It's been a long time since he left this place," Hayes asked. "You don't know?" Ray shook her head. "No, I haven't received any messages from him since he left." Hayes leaned in closer and said, "Look at me closely. Don't I remind you of someone?" "Here." Ray looked at him and said, "Ah, on second thought, are you here, Farah Hayes?" And he thought she might recognize him. He said to her, "Yes, you know me, don't you?" And at the same time, he was saying to himself, "Do you realize how frustrating it was?" Here, Ray was shocked when she said to him, "Didn't you used to work in a Lisbon palace?" And Hayes said, "What?" And here the maid Mary arrived, saying, "It seems you're bored, John." Here she threatened him and said, "I can tell Mr. Clodin to give you some tasks." And here, when Hayes left, Mary said to her, "Are you okay, Lady Ray? Did John say anything strange?" And Ray said, "It's okay, he didn't say much." And suddenly Ray closed her eyes and said to herself, "My head only hurts when I think about all these things with Clodin. But why do I keep engaging in these strange interactions?" Then she said to the maid, Lady Mary, while saying to herself at the same time, "I wish I could stop thinking." And here she said to her, "Can I get a drink?" And she did and drank a bottle of wine, saying to herself, Lady Mary really gave me something strong, the drink with the lowest alcohol content. Then she said shyly, I feel relaxed. And suddenly Clodin came and started playing with her hair as he looked at her. And here she noticed his presence, and she said in Clodin's joy, When did you get here? And Clodin just now, and he grabbed her and said, Come here, Ray. And here Ray hugged him and said to him, Yes, Clodin. And here she smiled and said, You have the sweetest lips, Clodin. It was the first thing I noticed about you. Then she put her hands on his lips, and Clodin looked at her, and here she kissed him and said, Stay the night, please. And here Clodin put his hat in her potty, and she was saying to him, Please. And Clodin, What are you trying to do to me, huh? And he kissed her on the cheek, and she was very happy. Clodin placed her on the bed and said, Ray, as you already know, I never had a mother. There's something I've always wanted to try. Ray asked innocently, What is it? Clodin smiled and said, Can you do it for me? Ray said, Tell me what it is and I'll do it. Clodin said, Really, Clodin took off her clothes, and Ray said, Clodin, when I was a little boy, there was a child who would breastfeed from his mother to fall asleep. When Ray finally understood, she said, Wait, Clodin. He did so, saying, Thank you for your great willingness, Ray. Ray looked at him shyly and said, Wait, Clodin. He continued to do so, and Ray said, Clodin, wait, stop. Nothing is coming out.